to your haven. This is the second part of the series that I started last year called The End. In the end of my relationship, I was living in an apartment with my ex. It was an abusive relationship, and the fact of the matter is I didn't want to ruin my credit on top of ruining my relationship as well. I wanted to buy a house. I didn't know how I could get out of the lease that I had with him safely without also hurting my credit. But really, in reality, it became an excuse as to why I didn't leave. And the truth of the matter is, if you're in a situation like that, there is hope, there is people that will help you, and you can't have any excuse, not even ruining your credit or an apartment, to keep you in that situation. But I didn't know that. And so it got so bad at the end of the whole relationship that I was so fearful for my life that it was better for me to leave the relationship and possibly ruin my credit instead of staying in that situation and staying in that apartment with him and with our children. And so what I ended up doing is I went to the leasing office and I got a copy of my lease. I went down to my grandma's house, I looked over the lease, and I just started crying because I realized there was no way for me to get out of that apartment. And so I talked to my dad, my mom, my brothers, my cousin, and a really dear friend, and I told them the truth finally, and how I was afraid to live in that apartment. And even if I had to pay the apartment for the last 4 months of our lease, I would do that, but I didn't want to live there with him. I was afraid that he could kill me. And so what happened is my brothers and my dad go up to the gym where he was at and confronted him about what he said. And while they're doing that, I decided I'm going to leave. And I left my kids with my mom. I got into my small blazer and I went to my apartment and I started packing boxes. And every box that I packed, I cried. But I packed boxes, I packed pictures, I packed the kitchen, I packed groceries, I packed everything that I could pack. And my dad and my brothers came with me. And my brother had this tiny little neon, and we filled both the cars and we took multiple trips back and forth to my grandmother's house until we were done. And while that was all going on, I was on the phone with my cousin here and there, and while I was on the phone with her one time, my ex started calling repeatedly, and I told her, he's calling me, and she said, Stephanie, you don't have to answer. Yeah, I got to the point where I was so afraid of him or not doing what would make him happy that I would not even know that I didn't have to answer my own phone, because that wasn't what was best for me in that moment. And so I left the relationship, and my brother told him in the conversation he had with my dad and my brothers that I no longer wanted to be with him, and that the relationship was over. Well, for me, I hadn't really decided that the relationship was over. I just didn't want to be in the same space with him in case he hurt me. And so I was still holding on, like, it'll get better, we'll go to counseling, this relationship wasn't pointless, and trying to convince myself that it wasn't for naught the time I spent, and that I really did love him and he loved me and it would be okay. And so that's the narrative there, the lies that I was telling myself. Like a week later, I'm in my car, we're trying to make small talk because we're still together, and we're talking, and I asked him what he was doing that day, and he's like, hopefully doing you. And I remember sitting back and considering that and thinking about that, and I just felt something in my heart telling me no. Because, I'm not going to put a band-aid of sex on a messed up relationship. It isn't going to fix it. Because if that would have fixed it, it would have fixed it a long time ago. And I just was telling him, no, we got to do something different. And I remember getting off the phone, a couple days go by, and I'm at my brother's football game. And it's loud. Like, it was so loud. We were pumped. He and his team were going to go to the playoffs possibly. It was a really critical part of the game, and if you go to a football game with me, you could hear me. I was excited, and my brother was doing so well, his team was doing so well, and I got a call from an unknown number. Now, in that moment, I answered the phone. I don't even know why I answered the phone, but I did. and it was the King Soopers Pharmacy. And they were telling me that my birth control was recalled. And I remember sitting down and the lady's like, "Can you hear me?" I was like, "Yes, I can hear you." And she was telling me, I could come back in and get a different prescription and etc., etc., etc. And I remember sitting there and I remember thinking, just a couple days ago, I could have went and slept with my boyfriend, fiance, and I could possibly be pregnant with a third child with someone that I probably need to be leaving. I probably need to be getting out of this relationship. And it was like another indication that I was going the right direction. I needed to change the decisions that I was making, and I needed to do something different in order for things to change. And so I just want to encourage you, we're in the first quarter of this year. And I want to encourage you that to make the decisions that you don't feel like making, and to say no to the things that you usually say yes to, and to exit relationships and situations that aren't best for your relationship with God, with yourself, with your children, and those who truly do love you. So I just want to encourage you of that, to make the right choice, do the hard thing, and you never know what you will be keeping yourself from, what you will be preventing in someone else's life that could hurt their life or hurt your life or hurt those that love you if you make the wrong decision. A lot of us are at crossroads and we don't know when we're at some, but I think that because God loves us, He really speaks to us in those moments, and He will warn you. And if you listen to the still small voice, the thing that tells you don't go there, don't do that, do something different, don't lie to yourself this time, tell the truth, tell someone, ask for help. That voice, listen to that voice. The voice you don't ever listen to, the voice you're afraid to listen to. Listen to that one, the good one that's telling you to do the hard thing. And I promise that it's going to be worth it. And that whatever you struggle through, the choice that you struggle through to make is the same choice that will save you and help you and change your entire life. So that's what I want to encourage you with today. Take care, and I'm praying that you make the right choices. Thank you.